So for step 50, attaching the roof parts. Well, we've got this big roof part, which is another part of the roll cage in a sense. Then we have C11, and it's showing you got to make sure you cut off all the little bits carefully. I've gone ahead and done that, but you'll see. And then we've got these parts here, which you can see are here, C6 and C5, that are going to be attached together. And then there's these little grub screws that have to go in as well, which I think will be to do with the feel of the tightening and loosening off of that switch, basically, that allows you to flick it one way or the other to flip up the roof so we can get to the battery. So there's quite a few interesting little parts here. We've got our tapping screws, both a flathead and regular. We've got these little grub screws, bigger than the motor ones, but they're still grub screws. And then you have these snap pins. There's the main roof piece right here. And then there's the C11. So I'll set this up and let's put this on. So first off, we need to work with this piece here. And you can see that there is a C5 and a C6. This is the C5 piece, and this one here is the C6. So you can see that this has to go up through the bottom, and then this is going to sit on top. Now you'll notice that there is a notch inside of there, and this has the bit that's sticking up. So you want to align that so that it is over top of that correctly. And then we're going to take our MC7, which is the flathead screw, and we're going to screw that into place. Well, there we go. There. So that's in all the way now. Now you'll notice it's loose in a sense, and you can see how it sits on the bottom, but that's just a loose piece. Well, now it's showing that this top's got to go on. So you can see that this piece here is going to sit over top. So those are the holes that we're going to stick some screws into, and that's going to sit over top of that. So that's going to sit there like that, which means we're going to now use the MA4s from the bottom. So let's do that. Take that one there, and we'll screw that in. Now these are tapping screws, so when you get to the bottom or the end, you're going to know. You shouldn't have to worry about stripping it out. It's just going to stop because it's going into hard plastic, so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, and I'm just going to do a last little sort of double check. It's fine, that's nice and tight. Check this one, it's fine, nice and tight. So now it looks like that. Very cool design. Now, once those pieces are on, we've done all that, this is now going to end up sitting onto the chassis. But we have one other thing that we need to do, which are these little grub screws. Now notice it's showing that they want 1 millimeter to be out at the bottom. So first off, we need to screw these into place. And if I move this sideways, this is going to have to go in. So let's just make sure. You know what? Instead of using that, I am going to use the screwdriver from the Tamiya screwdriver set, because I think it'll be easier to work with. So let's go back to this. We need to be able to get that in there. There we go. So there's one. And according to this, we need it to go down below so that it's 1 millimeter sticking out at the bottom. So we just keep spinning this in. All the way until so you can see that it's down there at the bottom, but it's popped out just a little bit at the top. Now, that's not quite a millimeter at this point, so I'll just, that looks right, which is fine because you can see where it's sitting, about a millimeter. So we're going to do the same thing with the other one. So we've got another one that needs to go into here. Yep. So we'll screw that all the way down. And just keep going until we've got it popping through on the other side. Now I can feel it with my fingers that it's popping through. So we need to go, or keep going until we got a millimeter popping out. Now, if you look at both, they're looking pretty level. Maybe I'll screw this one in just a touch more, just so that it looks like that. I'll back it off just a touch. Looks pretty correct. And now this is going to sit into the car. So if we grab our chassis, you can see that this has a pin M2 that's going to slide through the chassis and into the top, which means it's going to sit there, and then that's going to fit down there on the front, and you should be able to turn that to lock it in place. And because of the way that this is attaching to the plastic, those pieces that we put on should mean that this ends up being nice and tight. So I got to turn this back, and I may have turned it too much, or maybe that's more than a millimeter. So let's just back this off a touch here. Well, it's too light now, so I will put it back. Let's do that one more time. I'll tighten it up just a touch there. So now we need to put this on, and you can see that there's this M2 piece. So you can see the way this is going to sit is this is going to sit down here at the back. This is going to be pushed through and through and through to the other side. Now this part is on a hinge. So once we put it into the hole right there, those grub screws that we put in are designed so that when you turn this, it tightens it onto the chassis. So if I want to undo it, I'm going to snap it back, and then it'll fold back again. So I'm just going to turn this, and now it's nice and tight. It's on there. So what do we have left to do? It's showing it's the square pins, and they go into this hole on either side of the car. just like that. So those are helping to hold it down as well. And then you can see that there's one more screw or snap pin, which is on the other side, because obviously this piece that we put in needs to be held in as well. So we just slide a pin through there, and now that pin isn't coming out. So that means that you've got a pin holding this bar in place so it doesn't slip out. You've got two pins on the front, and you do have this lock pin as well, which is designed so that you can pop it out. So if we take those two pins out, for example, twist this, now we can fold it back and then pop out our driver figure, and now we have access to the battery. Put the new battery in, pop that in place, close it, and then put the pins back in. Very, very cool. I actually quite like that design, so I love it. So that means that step 50 is complete. So now we're going to move on to 51 and look at securing the roof parts. So in the end, step 51 isn't a whole lot different to what we did in 50, because I more or less explained this, that this is designed to turn to lock in the roof. And they're also showing you that you can use a box wrench for this. And if you want more security, they're showing that you can actually screw these in a bit more, and then that's not going to come out at all. So then you'd have to, I guess, use the hex wrench to unlock it, as you know, when you want to get into the battery. But honestly, that's pretty much it for 51. So I'm not going to spend any time on that. You kind of get that idea. So really, we're moving on to now step 52, which is the markings. So it's time to decal up the car.